Hi, hello, and welcome. I'm DM Dorga, and welcome to another episode of From Screen to Tabletop. And today is a special episode as we celebrate the 5th anniversary of God of War 2018. And how are we celebrating this anniversary? By making homebrew stats for the Leviathan Axe, the Chaos Blades, the Draupnir Spear, and making a Valkyrie stat block. Let's get going. We're starting off strong with my favorite weapon from both games, the Leviathan Axe. And just as a quick side note, I based these weapons off of the Vestiges of Divergence from Explorer's Guide to Wildmount. Now, back to the Leviathan Axe, we start off with its first property, where it gets a +1 to attack and damage rolls, and it deals an extra 1d6 cold damage on a hit. You can also throw the Leviathan Axe as part of your attack and call it back with a bonus action from any distance. And you can use a bonus action to charge your Leviathan Axe to deal extra cold damage on a hit on top of the cold damage you could already do. When the axe becomes awakened, it becomes a +2 weapon and the cold damage increases to 1d8. You can also throw the axe even further than you could before. And it now has a special attack where when you throw and hit a target with your axe, it also explodes, dealing cold damage not only to the target, but to each creature within 10 feet of it. Now, once the axe reaches its awakened state, it becomes a +3 weapon, the cold damage increases to 1d10, you can throw it even further than you could before, and when you charge it up to deal extra damage, it deals even more cold damage than it could do before. And for the axe's final ability, you basically do a mini cone of cold that hits each creature in a 30-foot cone and deals 5d10 damage, cold damage specifically. And now we move on to the series fan favorites, the Chaos Blades. Starting off in its dormant state, the Chaos Blades are +1 weapons that get an additional 1d4 fire damage and are dual wieldable, and both blades get all the benefits. The blades can also be thrown up to 30 feet away before automatically returning to your hand on hit or miss, and if you lock onto something solid, you can pull yourself towards that object. And like the Leviathan Axe, you can charge up the flames on the Blades of Chaos to deal even more fire damage than what it could already do. Moving on to the awakened state, the blades become +2 weapons, the fire damage increases to 1d6, and they can be hurled farther than they could before. And you now have a unique action where you can spin your blades around you in a 15-foot radius of whirling fiery death to all within. Finally, we reach the blades exalted state where they become +3 weapons, the fire damage increases to 1d8, they can be thrown even further before, and you can now charge them to be even more powerful than they were before to deal extra fire damage. And now if you throw your blades into a creature and hit them, you can pull yourselves to be within 5 feet of that creature from, well, whatever distance you threw your blades from. And you now have a special attack where if you throw your blades into the ground at a certain point you can see, it explodes and deals damage to each creature within 10 feet of that blade. And last but certainly not least of the weapons is the Draupnir Spear. In its dormant state, this weapon is a +1 weapon and deals an extra 1d6 thunder damage on a hit and can be thrown to a range of 60 feet. You can also embed the spears in your enemies if you throw them at them and can make them detonate with a bonus action, dealing extra thunder damage to those enemies. You can also empower these detonations when you make them explode, however you can only do this a certain number of times between long rests. We now move on to the Draupnir's awakened state where it becomes a +2 weapon, the thunder damage increases to 1d8 instead of 1d6, and you can now throw the spear even further than you could before. You can also embed more spears into an enemy than you could before, and you now have a special attack where you hurl a drilling spear into just one enemy, but it deals even more significant damage to them and knocks them prone. Now we move on to the spear's exalted state, where it becomes a +3 weapon, it deals an additional 1d10 thunder damage instead of 1d8, and you can throw it even further than you could before, and you can embed more explosive spears than you could before. And you can now empower those detonations to be even stronger than they were before. And the spear's final ability is where you throw it at a point within 100 feet and it explodes, dealing thunder damage to each creature within 20 feet of that explosion point. And now we move on to one of the best parts about God of War 2018 and God of War Ragnarok, the Valkyries. So to start with, I base this on general abilities that the Valkyries have and not specific ones like Sigrun or Gna. Those are super powerful ones, and hey, maybe I'll make like a CR25 or CR30 stat block for them at some point. So to start with, I made these Valkyries a CR16. They got a beefy amount of hit points at 241. And they can fly, which, you know, that's kind of a requirement. And for their traits, I started them off with the flyby ability, which lets them fly by enemies without provoking opportunity attacks. I also gave them immortal nature, which makes it so they don't have to eat, drink, or breathe in order to live. I also gave the Valkyries magic resistance because that honestly made sense to me. And I gave them the unique ability, Travel the Bifrost, which lets them cast plane shift once per day. And with Valkyric Arsenal, it makes their weapons magical and lets them do an extra amount of fire damage or cold damage because they can, well, use fire or ice in the middle of their battles. And for the Valkyrie's actions, I made it so that it can attack twice with either its feathers or with its scythe. The Valkyrie also has a wing attack, but that's mostly used with its legendary action. And the Valkyrie's big boy action is its Blinding Blast, where it deals damage, radiant and thunder damage to each creature within 50 feet of it, and has a chance to blind that creature as well. The Valkyrie can use its bonus action to teleport to a point within 120 feet, and it can use its reaction to bring up its shields to block an attack, and if it does block an attack, it can counterattack with a wing attack. And for the Valkyrie's legendary actions, it can either attack with its scythe, feathers, or wings, it can fly up to its movement speed, or it can unleash its devastating spin attack, where it spins and attacks with its wings to each creature within range, making an attack roll against each creature within 10 feet of her. And that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoy and use the God of War homebrew that this video provided. And happy 5th anniversary God of War 2018. You're a wonderful game of the previous generation and hold a special place in many people's hearts. Now let's shout out some patrons!
Shoutouts, Le Battery, James Larson, Samantha Cox, and Thomas McKeebler. You guys are great, thanks for the support!
I hope you all enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching this far. Please like, share, and subscribe. And see ya, so long, farewell. Have a good one. God bless. Bye-bye.